Thanks for coming this afternoon. We wanted to give you an update on the local flood events that we've had recently. First of all, Mayor Bach just signed a local disaster declaration this afternoon seeking and essentially looking at the damages and public infrastructure we received between May 3rd and May 12th. What this does, this will now go to the state of Colorado for review and to the governor. We're working closely with El Paso County and, of course, the state of Colorado. The governor may exercise his authority to seek federal disaster declaration assistance, which we will send to the United federal government, the president. If successful, we could receive a federal disaster declaration, essentially receive 75% reimbursement for certain repairs, which are public repairs at this point. Our early estimates, and this is simply an estimate, we just received this just a few minutes ago, our Public Works Department, Public Works damage essentially between stormwater and streets is about $5.3 million over this last storm. Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services, $2.8 million of damage in our park system, making it roughly a grand total of $8.2 million of damages that we've received due to this storm that simply went on for some time. Really some unprecedented rainfall, not just for one day, but a number of days, as you recall, which caused some serious infrastructure damages to the city of Colorado Springs. So, again, we're doing everything we can to submit for possible federal support on this incident. So, that said, we do have our Public Works Director and other staff here, so happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So is any of this money going to go towards pothole repairs?
Good question. So at this point, potholes aren't accounted for in the damages, and potholes will be not, as my understanding, would not be part of the federal reimbursement. This is more larger scale instance. If a trail, for instance, was damaged, or a large stormwater project, but not potholes aren't included in this. Good question.
Will this go towards the retaining wall in Manitou?
I can't speak for Manitou. I think you'd have to touch base with El Paso County.
What are the list of programs that you're talking about that this money is going to be going to?
Sure, good question. So we're talking about, for instance, I'm looking at our list here. There's significant damage on Pikes Peak Greenway, North Rock Rimmon. There's a serious stormwater issue there, and that would be an eligible project, for instance, in that case. There is the significant trail in Garden of Gods. It was a cement trail that has failed. That's an eligible project. So those are projects that we're talking about at this point.
Is the timeline changeable in terms of, is it only a local declaration for May 3rd to 12th? If there's more damage that comes recently, is it possible that there might be a separate declaration, or that this time may be extended?
Good question. So, yes, if there is a significant damage, say, tomorrow, that would be a separate declaration process. And essentially there is certain thresholds and things that the state and federal government do look at as far as our damage totals. And so, but that would be a separate declaration. In this case, we had day after day after day of storms, so they counted that as one disaster declaration.
Even if you got the money today, how long would it take to repair all the damages that you're asking for in the declaration?
Brett, can you kind of look right here?
Sure,
Kind of
sure. Yep, I'll do my best. I've got a lot of cameras in front of me. You know, that will take some time. I mean, looking at my Public Works Director, it wouldn't happen tomorrow. It's a matter of months before that would happen. And essentially those things do take some time.
Some of the issues that we've seen with like the sinkholes and things like that. Workers I spoke to said these are, long-term, or this is from long-term damage to some of our storm sewers and things like that. Will that have an impact then on us getting assistance if they're like, look, you've had these issues for a long time, like it's kind of your own problem?
Yeah, good question. So essentially the question is long-term damage. Essentially these damages has to be due to this storm. And so generally FEMA won't pay for pre-existing conditions based on infrastructure. It's going to be based on what happened on this storm that we've had. Good question.
Was something that was an issue for a long time, though, and then failed ultimately because of the storm. Is that?
Could be a sense where there's some cost sharing involved, where they will put it to pre-existing conditions and we pay for the rest. So oftentimes it could be a cost share sort of agreement where they pay for what the storm actually did and we pay to bring it back to where it needs to be.
How do you go about prioritizing repairs? Like, where do parks and open spaces fit in the overall framework of what needs to be fixed and when?
I think we're simply going to take the highest priority ones that we feel necessary. However, in this case, because it's simply not going to happen tomorrow, we're going to go after all of these repairs as fast as we can, looking at what we can submit to the federal government. So essentially, in this case, we want to make sure there's no threats to public safety, but ultimately we're going to get after the repairs as fast as we can.
Is there money in the parks budget to fix these problems if no assistance comes from the state or the feds?
I couldn't address that question at this point. I don't know. This is just really right off the press. We'll have to address this on a long-term basis on what we're going to do with these needs that we currently have and just really found out about. So
did you guys feel like this was necessary because the city just doesn't have the money to pick up this tab, this $8 million?
No, I think because we've declared a number of emergencies in the last several years, if there's something that meets essentially thresholds, we're going to do our part to essentially seek federal reimbursements when it's eligible to do so. So it wasn't the case we didn't necessarily have the money. It was if we're eligible to do that, we're gonna seek all methods we can to get reimbursement for the needs that we have.
Do you anticipate any additional trail closures or parks closures?
I couldn't address that at this point. I don't foresee that, but I would have to go to my Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services Director, not present, but my understanding is not at this time.
What message and hope do you have for residents who are listening to this disaster declaration, information about the future, about infrastructure fixes?
I know that city staff is out, and you've seen them doing the best they can to address the issues that are confronting citizens at this point. We're doing what we can with the resources that we have. We'll continue to do that. This is another measure to do that, to essentially seek federal support in this really historic disaster and flood event we've had for the last couple of weeks. But they're going to do, citizens I understand are concerned, and essentially the city's doing everything they can to address this. So,
Are potholes not eligible for this funding, or is it just that the city felt that there was enough other damage that this money needs to go to that?
Yeah, my understanding is they're not eligible. So potholes in this case wouldn't be eligible and not included in this declaration. So, okay, I think that unless there's any questions, I think that concludes. So, okay.
Does anybody have any public works specific questions they want to ask Travis Easton?
We have the expert here. Do you have questions about public works
We can mic
projects?
Travis, thank you. Or we can just do individual afterwards. You want to do that? Okay.
Okay.
Well, then let's conclude this news conference.
Thanks.
Oh, will you spell your first and last name?
And right now, this concludes the news conference you've been listening to on Gazette.com.